So, good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Marketing Demystified. And I am your host for this talk today. I'm Harpreet, and I head marketing for Kangaroo Group. I have over 20 years of experience in marketing. I have worked with organizations of high repute in my previous stints like LexisNexis, American Express, IBM, and EvalueServe. With me in this initiative, I am joined by Vikesh Dhani. So a quick background of this initiative, we started this initiative to bridge the gap between industry and academia, since the marketing which is learned in schools and colleges is quite different from what it is practiced in industry. So we wanted that gap to be bridged, and hence this initiative was formed. A quick introduction from Vikesh will help.
Thank you, Harpreet. Hello, everyone. I'm Vikesh Dhani, a publisher and a marketer. I am co-founder of a company called Oakbridge Publishing and also an online tax knowledge solution called Taxo Online. I've spent about 25 years in publishing industry, working with organizations like McGraw-Hill, Pearson. These are two of the world's largest textbook college publishers. My last assignment in the corporate world was with LexisNexis as the head of marketing and innovation. I am looking forward to an exciting conversation with our experts today.
Sure, thank you. Thanks, Vikesh. So today we have very special guests, Professor Ranjan Chaudhary and Sanjay Kaul. I'll request Professor Ranjan Chaudhary to introduce himself.
Thank you so much, Harpreet. It's a pleasure to be on this forum and share with you my experiences as I have learned in my 22 years of corporate and academic journey. So today we are on a very special mission. The mission is to understand where our roots lie. The mission is to understand the India, which we call Bharat. So here am I with Mr. Sanjay Kaul, my colleague, and Harpreet and Mr. Vikesh to talk about and discuss the multi-facets of rural India, which as students of marketing sciences, which as practitioners of marketing sciences, we often experience, but we often fail to relate. So we'll try to see how well we relate to these challenges and how we demystify the euphoria, which is the rural market. I have 22 years experience in academia and industry, as I already mentioned, and currently I am professor in marketing at Indian Institute of Management, Ranchi. Thank you, Harpreet.
Sure, thank you. Sanjay ji, a quick introduction from
Hi, everyone, and I am Sanjay Kaul, and I've been in the rural marketing for almost 3 decades now. I'm a founder of a largest rural marketing agency in the country called Impact Communications, and currently I am doing a startup at 60. So that's basically solving one of the major problems in the rural marketing, that's called distribution. So it's a tech-enabled distribution company, and I have been working with some of the best brands in the country and created some of the flagship initiatives for Unilever, GSK, and Colgate-Palmolive. So some of the major initiatives are, as old as almost a decade, and which has given tremendous, they were the early movers and has given them a tremendous value in terms of penetration in the rural markets. I think today is a very, very interesting panel, and I'm very happy to join with Professor who would give us a real marketing, academic context, and probably I will try to give it, give examples how that is being, translated on ground. So that, I think that would be the focus of the session today.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Mr. Kaul, and thank you so much, Professor Chaudhary. So I think that's a very, very glorified and rich experience we have on board today. And I am also very much intrigued to understand different nuances of rural marketing. So the topic on which we are going to have our discussion today is rural marketing or rural marketing demystified. I will ask Professor Chaudhary to share, to start with. First, we would want to understand that what is the current state of rural India? That is one. Second, how rural marketing has evolved over the ages. There are certain myths we had. So like we were having a prelim discussion before the session. So we used to feel that rural India is one, I mean, that is how it has been portrayed. It is a land of snake charmers. It is a land where, there is illiteracy. It is a land where there is so much of poverty. They won't understand the brand concepts. They won't understand. But I think all those definitions have evolved. Now it is that India or Bharat, like what we call, which is connected, very much mobile enabled, very much internet enabled, very much up to the speed. So it will be I think for the audience also, it will be very useful if you can throw some light as to how rural India has evolved and what is the state today we are in. So I understand that you have a deck to present. So let me just quickly enable the sharing facility, and it will be great if you can share the deck.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Is the deck visible?
Yes, it is. It is.
Thank you. So once again, hearty welcome to today's session on rural marketing demystified. And it's not rocket science, to tell you honestly and frankly. So there are a lot of myths which probably my colleague Mr. Sanjay Kaul will probably dispel today and clear the air. But let me start saying that I think at the very essence of the market which exists in rural India, I think we owe our heartfelt gratitude and indebtedness to the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi, who said that the future of India lies in its villages. I think if we go by the paradigm of how rural market has evolved over a period of time, I think there are wonderful ways to look at the market, how the market has changed, transformed from a market of the 50s post-independence to the market of the 2022, where we have artificial intelligence, machine learning algorithms being put into practice to understand buying behavior, advanced CRM to put into to deploy to understand what consumer buys at the front end. I think there has been a sea change in the way that we look at the rural market. So firstly, the market is not underdeveloped. The market is developing. The market is changing extremely fast, and there are no clear line which separates the rural from the urban part of the country. So it is more progressive now as it was previous, as it was not previously. It is more progressive, and according to the definition given by the Government of India's National Portal of India, the rural sector means that when the population would be less than 5,000, the density of the population is less than 400 per square kilometer, and there would be more than 25% of the male who are engaged in agricultural pursuits. Saying that, I think this is the broad generic definition of rural area, typical definition, which is used more or less used by most government agencies, departments to understand and differentiate between rural and urban. But companies, sectors do put in place their own metrics to define, to segment and micro-segment the rural market and figure out what best is their target area to cater to. So today's session is not about to enter into a debate of what exists in terms of definition of rural India or doesn't, but to understand what we need to know in terms of demystify our understanding of rural market. So as is very common with any marketeer, is to talk about all those acronyms, 4 Ps and 4 Cs. So I'll start with the 4 Ps primarily: the product, price, the place, and the promotion, which is how do we mix and match them in the rural market. And how do we accordingly, how do we sync in with the 4 A's, which are very important and which my colleague Sanjay Kaul will deliberate as it will take you through a rundown on the case studies that as a practitioner he has been practicing in the market, which are availability, affordability, acceptability, and awareness, which are very important in terms of our understanding how we dwell on the buying behavior, how we dwell on the intricacies of consumer tastes, choice, and preferences in rural market. Now, when you look at the first P, the product, I think there are certain things which probably we have seen post-independence which are shaping up, and I'm sure Sanjay ji would probably dwell on it and shed further light through the case studies, is we have seen sachetization as a very important innovation that is happening in rural market, because the drop sizes are extremely small. The demand for a small RRO, rural retail outlet, maybe 6, 10, at best 20 such sachets. So you need to actually reinvent, reconfigure your entire supply chain strategy to cater to such a kind of product demand, which is actually looking for small serve units. So your supply chain strategy must be reoriented because the drop size is getting smaller and smaller. But in contrast, we have also seen, our experience tells us, that many people are actually traveling to the feeder towns to buy their groceries, to buy their supplies. So when they're traveling to feeder towns, just in order to cut the travel cost every time, they are looking for higher sized stock keeping units. So at one end, you have the challenge for people who are economically not so fortunate to offer them smaller stock keeping units. At the same point of time, there are another set of people who are traveling to feeder towns and again coming back to the villages. They want a larger stock keeping units. So according to one of the renowned marketing authors and academician, Professor Philip Kotler, today's rural consumers have changed. Particularly, they have changed a lot when you look at the Indian context. So the other aspect of product is the product design. The rural consumers, as I said, they have a preference for bright colors. Now, when Hindustan Latex was trying to introduce a male contraceptive for the Uttar Pradesh market, they had to keep it, the brand was Raksha, they had to keep it in ultra bright colors to bring that element of festivity and cheerfulness in the marketplace where the offtake could increase. Also, the product needs to be very sturdy. Please understand, because the products have to be rugged, they have to be strong enough to withstand the contours of the uneven topography through which the logistics would take them to the last mile, the final mile. Also, there is another very interesting aspect of the rural product mix is the brand names. And I have seen that MRF, Pahalwan branded tires, they resonate very well with the rural psyche. Similarly, Shaw Wallace introduced Shabnam, Jaan, Rangila. So brand name association automatically gives you a kind of top of the mind recall. Okay, so these are certain nuances of the product mix. When I look at the pricing strategies, I think the basic products at good prices is what the market is actually looking for. Look at Kevin Care. Kevin Care introduced their 1 rupee chick shampoos. Godrej Expert Hair Color formulation at 5 rupee price point, or the Nupur Henna at 10 rupee price point, HUL Pepsodent toothpaste at 4 rupee price point, or Kurkure at 5 rupee price point, or even our service providers like Vodafone introducing a 5 rupee recharge, or Airtel introducing a 5 rupee recharge. Actually, I think reinstates our conviction that this market is looking for to some degree of value engineering. Now, how we do that and how we synchronize that with the price, I think that's a big challenge for any marketeer in the country who are interested to take a look at this beautiful market. When you look at the cost strategies, as I say, price, I think the cost is very important for any marketeer to understand, because the drop sizes, as I mentioned, are typically very small in rural market. And there is lack of economic transportation. There are non-availability of warehouses. There are excessive spoilages or damages happening. So the information cost is very high. Please remember, you do not have the Indian Readership Survey data available for rural market. You don't have the Broadcast Audience Research Council data. Even if you have, they might be inadequate. So you do not have adequate information. Along with that, the logistical costs are also very high. So you have to keep your cost of acquisition, because cost of acquisition in urban India, I do not have exact figure, because I'm not a practitioner, but I can tell you roughly on a theoretical perspective, if it is 200 in rural India, it is half the price in urban India. So acquisition costs are very high. The reason behind is there are a lot of below the line activities or BTL activities, which are unconventional marketing, promotions, communications, which needs to be done for rural market, which are not a kind of must for urban market. So that actually increases the cost to a considerable extent. So does the profit justify the cost? I think this is something which is very challenging for any marketer to address. And also, maybe today's discussion will also try to understand, does this profit justify the cost to engage in a marketing mix modeling for the rural India? So that's very important, because we are trying to address a situation where the cost is getting higher and higher day by day. Particularly, I think post-COVID, it is even higher. And what strategies we should have to keep the cost under control. So I was speaking to a few of my friends who have been in this marketplace. So what I understand speaking to them primarily is, rather than going entire pan-India or going entire state or a subdivision, their advice is take one district at a time, because each district primarily has a focus on a specific socio-economic strata, on a specific group, on a specific kind of lingua franca that is spoken across the district. So if we target one district at a time, that gives a kind of sense of belongingness, that yes, I can actually be comfortable in this market for a while. We can avoid avoidance on the third party. Most companies would prefer to go through a dealership network, but I think that the best part of the story is if you can actually see, if your company salespeople, field salesperson, they can actually be the brand ambassadors, go to the rural market, generate demand, and once the seeding is done, once there is a demand, I think then it can be taken forward by the dealership or the distribution network. Also, I think urban strategies may not work always in the rural market. So I think we should not fall into the trap of replicating. If we had done something great in Howrah, I think that does not mean that interiors of Howrah district would also respond to very similar kind of marketing strategies. Also, it is very important, I think, now, as Arpit rightly mentioned about the artificial intelligence, data analytics. So we need to find data for each villages. That is very important. We cannot do away without data. So what is the kind of mobile ownership, smart mobile ownership, smartphone ownership? How many school-going children are there? What is the kind of general economy of the household? What is the social inclusiveness of that particular district, or exclusiveness of that particular district? How well the district is connected to the highway? I think that's very important. To give you an example, I think if we are, for example, dishwashing buds, if you're trying to introduce a product in that marketplace, I think it is important to actually look at how many people are using ashes to clean the utensils. And the next step is to see how many people are using counterfeit dishwashing buds to clean the utensils. I think both of them becomes a kind of our potential target group to place our dishwashing buds in that particular segments. A lot of BTL techniques, as I already mentioned. And most importantly, I think in terms of reducing the cost is to hire locally as much as possible. I remember, I think, again, an illustration where I was told that Tata Sky, a vendor for, television network services, they were struggling to figure out how they entered the rural market. And finally, what they did was they hired local people, they trained them, they were called Sonu, and they trained their Sonus. So the variable is a variable cost model of distribution. They were able to lower down the cost because they are not on the permanent rolls of Tata Sky, and the company does not have to set up offices in villages. So these local people would actually take care of the entire thing. Similarly, I think for place, I'll shortly come to the place issue, but I think one aspect of place issue is very important is to look at the channel distribution, the channel decision distribution. So whether to have a direct distribution or whether to have a sub dealer being appointed, I think these are very critical levers on which a lot of decisions or indecisions happen in a typical company where the decision is to go rural, and to look at the demand seasonality of the products, to look at the logistical challenges. So my advice in general would be, as a purely theoretical perspective, of course. So I think focus on the micro markets, because each micro market, as I said, one district is a micro market. So each micro market has their own external and internal data. Look at the data and then create an opportunity map around that. And through data analysis, try and understand the buying behavior of that micro market, because that gives you a kind of predictive or prescriptive analytics on growth opportunities for you as a company. Now, once you have done that, so again, you can focus on the next micro market. So if you're able to follow this iterative group of identifying one micro market, data analytics, deploying data analytics to understand the opportunities, and then understanding the buying behavior, and then again reconfiguring that, recalibrating that with the growth opportunities. I think that's a great way to go forward. Coming back once again, is the rural marketing in India currently, as it is combination of all of these. Not only product, place, price, and promotion, and affordability, acceptability, and awareness. It is also a combination of data, of analytics, of machine learning, everything put together. So the scope is huge, and it's actually so fascinating to understand the scope, because this is a very statistically significant market where the population is huge, and the population is growing, and the population caters to the growth impetus of the country in general, and the population is contributing to, of course, the profitability, the bottom lines of most companies, and that's where the fortune lies. And so whether it's a durable company or an FMCG company, nobody possibly can afford to ignore such a statistically significant population which constitutes a rural India. So let me take a small clip from a published document by Accenture, which says, and I quote, that rural consumers are particularly aspiring or seeking to purchase branded, high-quality products. So this is one myth that possibly I think we're going to demystify today. So market is not looking for low-frill, cheap products. The market is looking for products which are equally applicable for their urban counterparts. It is only with certain amount of constraints and riders that the market would be perfect for most marketeers in the days to come. So I think the summary of the whole discussion is there is fortune at the base of the pyramid, and no wonder I think most companies today are very keen to understand. Most academicians are researching on that. Students are keen to study the rural market, and in fact, there are a lot of factors that contributes to this growing popularity of rural marketing in India amongst the Indian businesses. So there is definitely a growth impetus that is happening. But I think one point of clarity that lies here is, can we sustain this growth? And I will request my colleague Sanjay Paulji to actually address this, because still many of the rural little outlets, as I understand, as I traveled in the last summer, they are still not registered with the goods and services tax, and that's one of the primary concerns for many FMCG vendors and the stockists. So can we sustain this? Because historically, consumption in India was almost a double-digit figure. I do not have exact figure for the quarter ended September 2022, but I understand that if urban India is a single-digit figure for FMCG consumption growth, rural India always shows a double-digit figure, even during the pandemic. So the point is, how did all this happen? As Harpreet rightly mentioned, there has been a lot of changes that has been affected in the rural market. And one is the telecom revolution and the internet revolution and the penetration of the bandwidth and the laptops and smartphones. So that has improved the networking capability. So, the information asymmetry, which was there earlier, I think probably that has lowered down to a considerable extent. And there are a lot of these insights which are available online. I'm sure that you can check out yourself. So I have a data by IAMAI Kantar IQ 2020, which talks about that there are 299 million internet users, I beg your pardon, that accounts for 31% of India's population, which means that there is a very significant steady state rise in terms of the penetration of digital devices, the Android devices, computers to households and products. And that speaks of Snapdeal Nagar and Amazon tying up with the Indian Post and Services Network to cater to the villages. And of course, this gets accentuated because there are more employment prospects, a lot of rural employment other than agrarian employment that's on the rise into the rural market. So this increased employment prospects with coupled with a lot of these initiatives which are launched by Government of India to support rural livelihood, I think that gives a fillip, that gives a boost to the rural employment. And today there is an increased disposable income at the hands of the rural consumers. So uh, people are tending to spend. They are looking forward to good quality products, good services, and I think days are not far when they would also be almost, if not at par, almost be at par with their urban counterparts in terms of their aspirations and in terms of their lifestyle preferences. However, said that there are challenges and there are certain impacts that probably would have some impression on the way that marketeers try to drive the consumption growth in the rural market. Is the market is geographically scattered. There are 2,850 languages I have been told which are spoken in the length and breadth of the country. So, single language marketing communication, which can happen in large countries like China or Russia, I think that may not be possible for this. So you have to customize, custom tailor your ATL and BTL activities. Literacy rate also impacts your reach. The seasonality of the employment, the infrastructure, which I already highlighted in my earlier conversation, um, um, the problem of unbranded generics, and of course sometimes counterfeit products, that poses huge challenges in the rural market. Also sometimes, as I mentioned, the communication barriers, the decision, because it's a very slow process. It does not happen as fast as in urban market. So it's often a collective decision where the head of the family sits with all the family members to decide. So you have to figure out how do you move towards the development of the rural market. But I think this is a very resplendent, vibrant market. And the market is looking forward to some kind of revolution. And to put it, you have to figure out at the end of the day, how do you reach them? That's very important. Their acceptability and the availability of the products. So when you look at, there are a lot of ways that you can reach them. You can look at the rural periodic marketing, which are the hearts, the melas, and the shandies. They're a wonderful way to reach the rural market. So many companies, while they're trying to seed a new product in the rural market, actually takes this route to rural market, which is a rural periodic marketing, or RPM, as we call it in the acronym. So it's a very promising platform, the RPM of the rural hearts and the melas. And in contrast, the mandis are where the touch points with the farmers, they bring their own produce. So for an agricultural marketeer, which marketing seeds and fertilizers, so for them, mandi is a very promising platform. In contrast, for consumables, durables, I think the rural hearts and melas are very promising platform to showcase their products. Then there are rural retail marketing, which are again small retail outlets with again small drop sizes. As I talked about the logistical challenges and nightmares of reinventing the entire supply chain strategy to reach this final mile. So there is a promise. And when you talk about the rural retail market, I think the FMCG retailer in rural market, they talk about 19 product categories, where they talk about 27 in the urban market. And they have smaller number of relationships with companies, but there is a lot of prosperity that's going to unfold in the years to come, because this is also one market which is growing. Then a very popular way to reach the rural market is the van marketing, and starting from LG Sampurna TV sets to Amul to Nokia mobile phones. Everybody would have their story in terms of to Dabas or the Maricos of the world. Everybody has their story of how they used RVM or rural van marketing with their exhibit panels and the AV equipments to give demos about products such as the television sets to shampoos. Having some hairdresser to actually give a shampoo to a rural youth and see how the shampoo works. There is another very important way to and very promising way to reach the rural market is the influencer marketing, rural influencer marketing, or RIM. And possibly that these Anganwaris, the school teachers, the Panchayat Pradhans, the entrepreneurs, And there's sometimes very unusual people who become an influencer in the rural market. And most marketeers do try and find out who can be a possible influencer, who can talk about, can be a brand ambassador for them, who can influence their product, who can be opinion leaders for their products to their target audience. I think to end the story, the rural digital marketing is something which is catching up very fast. And thankfully, because of the internet penetration, the data consumption has increased manifold. And the statistics given by CAC Governance Services data tells us that YouTube and Facebook total internet data consumption is 23,000 plus GB and about 17,000 plus GB respectively. So there is a lot of interest in social media, and possibly marketers can take advantage of that using social media as a marketing platform. And you can use YouTube, you can use OTT, you can use paid marketing campaigns, any ATL mechanism that you have at your perusal, you can use that, and you can actually reach for the RDM market. The rural mobile market is, of course, at this stage of infancy. It's just, I think, growing at this point of time, but growing steadily. And mobile devices are there now and ubiquitous, I think, kind of stuff for most of the rural Indians. They have a mobile device. And many of the agri service providers are using WhatsApp and other value-added services, including SMS messages, to reach out to their target audience in the rural market. And I think that brings us to the first question in terms of the growth and evolution of the rural market. So it's always a pleasure to be a part of this growth story, which is the rural India. And I'm sure my good friend, Mr. Sanjay Kaul, will take this discussion forward. Over to you, Sanjay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Gurpreet.
yeah, sure. Thanks, Professor Chaudhary. So before we move on to Sanjay ji, so I would like to quickly summarize what you have enlightened us with. So one, there is a lot of opportunity. You said, you rightly gave examples of products, how they need to be tailored, and many brands have tailored also, whether it is HUL or Chick shampoo, or going price sensitive, going smaller. So the SKU size has been reduced. Whether you spoke about doing the 4 kinds of marketing, RRM, which is rural retail marketing, or RPM, periodic marketing in those hearts and mandis, or the influencer marketing. You also gave example of, there is an example which I know, Shakti Amma, which was used by HUL, and then the example of Sonu, which you gave. So these are different kind of influencers which are being used by brands. So before I go into case studies, I have a few questions, and probably Sanjay ji, with his expertise in handling such case studies, I would like him to address. There are certain brands. There are 2 questions. One is, this is all the positive side, the increasing or the positive side of the rural India, right? We also hear stories that they don't have enough money for pesticides, or they don't have enough money, and there are farmers who are committing suicides, which give a very gloomy picture of the rural India. Where you gave a very positive side, that there are Jan Dhan schemes, and there is Manrega, and then there is Rozgar, or there is subsidies which is happening. This is very good to hear. But there are also news and reports coming in which says that the consumption expenditure, the PCE, you said that the growth is very high, almost twice in rural India as compared to the consumption in urban India. But you juxtaposition it with stories or news wherein farmers commit suicide because they don't have the money, even to pay for loans which they have taken for meeting their daily needs. So that is my first question, that what is the reality? And second question is, there are certain brands which are lifestyle brands, right? So for example, it's a Fab India, or it's Zara, or there are why go that far? Even if it's a stationery brand like Stapler, there are certain brands who do not find relevance in the rural India because of the category and because of the consumption habit or the consumption need as such. So how do we address that? So these are the 2 questions. Other than that, I would like Sanjay ji to elaborate on the case studies. But I think we can take a pause here, and maybe we should deliberate this in the second part. Right. So So thank you so much. We will look or we will try to solve these questions in the second part of the episode.
Excellent.
Right. Thank you so much, and we stay tuned. So we'll come back.
Thank you for watching part 1 of episode 11 on rural marketing. In this particular episode, we looked at understanding rural marketing, its evolution, its growth drivers, its future, and various modalities of rural marketing, such as rural retail marketing or rural van marketing, and what does the future look like in this particular area. If you like the content, do like, share, and comment, and stay tuned. Thank you.